Hey everyone, welcome to a little bit of woo woo. I'm Jill Thomas, I'm your host today. And I'm getting a lot of calls right now for past life regression therapy, which makes me wonder if Brian Weiss released a new book or something. He wrote the book, Many Lives, Many Masters. But a lot of people really think they know a lot about past life regression therapy, and they've got a lot of things wrong. So I want to clear up a few things. Firstly, I'm not doing them right now. That's the one thing I couldn't figure out how to do via Zoom, but I have done past life regression therapy for like 16 years with lots of clients. I lost track, but so I know a lot about this issue. And I did learn Michael Newton's technique. So that's the one I did with clients. I'm going to explain some things about this. So first of all, you're talking about a very controversial issue within the hypnotherapy world. I think most people don't realize that hypnotherapists who are more medically inclined, these are the ones that are working with physical pain and addiction, tend to look down on hypnotherapists who do past life regression therapy because they think it's a little woo-woo and it makes the whole profession look bad. There's something to that. But people love these sessions and they can be very, very beneficial. So, it's a give and take, right? So first thing I want to explain, and I think this is really key, is that not every problem that you have has an origin in a past life. And I think what happens is people read Brian Weiss's book and he talks about all the little people's problems and they make people think that there is absolutely some origin in a past life. But I can guarantee you, almost everybody listening who has obesity issues or overweight issues did not have the origin start in a past life. This is a very real life, this current life problem. And 9 times out of 10, even if there's an element of something from a past life, you kind of need to work on what's happening in your life right now if you really want to heal the problem. I know it's fun to say, oh, it's got to be a past life. Let's look at that. Most of the time, something right in front of you that really needs to be looked at, okay? The other thing about past life regression therapy is that most hypnotherapists who start off doing it actually kind of stumble into a past life by accident. We all learn some regressive techniques in the very beginning of our training. It's called regress to cause. You want to go back to the original event that caused the person to be afraid of, let's say, flying. Go back to the original event. So if you go back to the original event, sometimes people accidentally go back into a past life and they start talking about something that happened in the 50s, and the person maybe is in their 20 years old and it couldn't possibly have been in the 50s. And that's how a lot of hypnotherapists end up learning about past life regression therapy, because it's kind of the same basic technique to go back to a past life. There's more to it than that, but it happens often enough that sometimes you just trip into a past life and that's how you start. The other thing I want people to know, there's actually quite a lot of things. So my list is long and hear me out. So people think that maybe they were a dog or a cat in a past life. No, you might have been an alien. But I have never run across a client who is actually an animal in a past life. But I will say that your dogs, your pets, all of your horses, they reincarnate too. So you may have actually had the same dog and the same cat several times. I will tell you, I'm going to do a whole video on this because people love to ask me about their dogs, but dogs will come back in different bodies. Sometimes they get really excited, like when the dog passes, they're excited about the next body that they're going to get. And they're thinking about, okay, what would she see at the shelter? What would she adopt? But they maybe want a bigger body than the one you got the last time. Just know that is a thing. Your animals reincarnate too. So if you lost a pet this year, you very well may run across them again in a few years, or maybe even the same year. I don't know. People ask a lot about romantic partners. Was I with my husband in a past life? Yes. The cast of characters, you have a main cast of characters, I would say 4 or 5 people that you reincarnate with every time, no matter what. And then there's some peripheral people. There's, your aunts. There's the people that reincarnate most of the time with you, but not every time. But then there's people that just pop in and just play certain roles in your life and in many lifetimes that you may have run across them many times. But they may even be the bad guy in the story who gets you excited about justice and makes you excited about being a police officer. Maybe they committed a crime against you. This may very well have happened many times, and it initiates something within your life that causes a very positive transformation. So there are people that just pop in and pop out and only spend a little bit of time in your lives many, many times over. So that happens a lot, okay? Past life readings and past life regressions are not the same thing. I've had plenty of people who booked a reading with me and they thought they were getting a past life regression and vice versa. Regression is actually something that hypnotherapists do where they actually bring you back into deep trance and we go back into the past life and you're actually seeing things that the hypnotherapist is not seeing and you're actually describing it to them. Hopefully there's a digital recorder present because that way you'll have a recording of it. It's usually really cool too because sometimes people will speak languages they don't speak. And if you've got that recorded, oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. So just know that a regression is different. A reading, sometimes psychics do that. I'm intuitive reader myself. You'll see things that the client doesn't know about, but it's basically us telling the client, I think you were this in this lifetime, something bad happened, it wasn't pleasant, blah, blah, blah. The client themselves is not really seeing what happens. The regression is more interesting, I would say, because you can feel what the past version of yourself was feeling. You can understand the emotions. You may understand on a deeper level why they did the things they did. Because the next thing I want to talk about is the fact that if you do a past life regression, you may not always be the good guy in the story, right? We have been both the bad guy and the good guy many times. Sometimes you've done things that are not nice. Sometimes you've done things that you were supposed to do because it helped trigger something that ended up being very positive, but wasn't very positive at the time. So I'm just warning you this because people think if they're a certain level of spiritual development that there's no way they could have killed somebody in a past life, and that is absolutely not true. Sometimes that belief will block you from going to a lifetime where you did commit a crime or you did something terrible. And if you don't get to go back to that experience in a past life regression, maybe you won't be able to heal the reasons, maybe you won't understand why it happened. So just know that you're not always the good guy, right? So the other thing I want you to know is that if something difficult or challenging happens in a past life, has happened in a past life, and something similar happens in this lifetime, that may be why something that's going on right now for you that's really tough may just seem like 100 times harder than it really should be. Maybe this has happened before. Maybe there's a pattern, a family of origin pattern that needs to be healed. Maybe there's something like that coming from a past life. This is a case where there is a past life origin or connection. Usually, though, doing work on what's happening right now will help heal the problem. So you don't necessarily have to do a past life regression if that's not available to you because they're expensive, they're long. These are long sessions. The other thing I will say on the past life regression therapy too, for those of you who are trying to save some coin, Brian Weiss actually has a really cool past life regression CD on Amazon. I think it's like $15. I can't remember what it's called, but just Google it. I look on Amazon's little search and you'll find it, but I think it's like $15. It's cheap and you can just kind of experience it and sort of know what it's like. Now, he doesn't really necessarily do any healing in these sessions, so you're not necessarily going to heal what happened, but you'll get to learn things. I always think that's really fun. The other thing I like to talk about is the fact that people come to me all the time and they say, I think I was somebody famous. I mean, it's kind of a joke in the hypnotherapy world that everybody thinks they were either Cleopatra or Queen Elizabeth. And so far, neither of those people has showed up in my office, I will tell you, but that comes up a lot. You may not have been famous. I will also say maybe you have been famous, and maybe you're somebody who's famous at that time period, but is not on our radar now. I would also say that Queen Elizabeth had a huge entourage. She had people around her all the time. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe that's why you have an affinity to that. So don't let your ego get too far out of whack with this. I mean, it's nice to think that we were somebody hugely famous, but most of our lifetimes were not like that. I will also say a lot of times when people initially start a past life regression, they're a little afraid of that they're going to get pulled into a lifetime that's really, really unpleasant. Perhaps, somebody dying in a concentration camp. I will tell you that that's really rare. Usually when that has happened, when a client has been pulled into a regression like that, it's somebody who's been doing the work on themselves for a long time. And it's also somebody who's had a few past life regressions. So my theory on this is that spirit will not let you see something that you're not emotionally able to handle. So don't worry about it. If you're wanting to do one, it's fine. You're going to be fine. It's going to be great. The other thing I will tell you too is there is something called parallel lives. This is another thing that shows up a lot. Hypnotherapists learn about it by accidentally stumbling into a lifetime where the person says they're a certain age and it's not physically possible considering their age. I will say that most people are probably living 4 lifetimes at least at the same time. That is a thing. And also, if you're dealing with something difficult and you heal it in this current lifetime, you may actually be healing it for the other lifetimes as well. Now, it's impossible for you to know for sure unless you do some regression, and certainly not everybody has that, but a lot of people do. So just be aware that that is also a thing. So if your soul is capable of reincarnating over and over in different bodies, it makes perfect sense that your soul can go into 3 or 4 at the same time. So you may be a little boy in Iowa, age 9, an adult woman in Texas, age 40, and also, a man in the South. It's all of those things are possible at the same time, and you may be surprisingly dealing with a lot of the same issues. So this is why I'm encouraging you to do healing work on yourself, because you may actually be healing it for other versions of you too. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about this kind of thing that you want answered, put it in the comments and I will perhaps answer it in a future video. So see you next time. Bye.